afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. You have Alyssa Corum and Ken Shreve here on this Monday. We're going to check out the action for the major indexes. The Nasdaq notched a bit of a gain today, Ken. We're going to analyze that and take a look at some interesting stocks on our radar. What do you have for us today?
Well, travel stocks are still working pretty well, so I think it makes sense to take a look at Airbnb, which is back near highs after jumping above its 10-week moving average last week. And we'll also take a look at Tencent Music out of China and Medpace.
Okay, let's do that. But first, a look at the major indexes. We're kicking things off with a look at the Nasdaq here, still trying to repair and close above the 50-day line with a gain of over 1% today. So this chart is a little delayed here. So a nice burst of buying into the close here, Ken. So what do you make of the Nasdaq's gain today?
Well, I mean, it was up. I think it's still a little early to say that it's ready to start a new confirmed uptrend. Of course, we've got the Dow and the S&P 500 acting very well, but we're still looking for that sign of strength in the Nasdaq. It was the hardest hit index, obviously, when it fell sharply below the 13,000 level. So we're looking for a sign of strength in the Nasdaq. Technically, it's the only index at this point in a downtrend. But like we said last week on recent shows, the selling in the technology sector was pretty severe, and that's probably going to take a little while to repair itself. But good up session for the Nasdaq and a close above its 50-day moving average, so that's a positive.
Yeah, and not only was it a close above the 50-day moving average, but it also looks like it was a close above last week's high. So continuing to see steps in the right direction, but like you said, maybe still a little bit too early to confirm that things are really on the up and up.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of volume today in the Nasdaq too. So it looks like we're going to see volume on Monday coming in a little bit higher than what we saw on Friday. So that's a positive sign as well.
Okay, great. And let's also take a look at QQQ, which tracks the Nasdaq 100. This is just underscoring, big tech is still having a hard time, really making a stand here and reasserting its leadership.
Yeah, well, and this is you can see in the chart here, it's still below the 50-day moving average. So the 50-day line could very well be a resistance level here. We'd like to see the QQQ get back above that 50-day moving average, but hasn't done it yet. But we will see. It's not in as good as technical shape as the composite, but again, good gains for the Nasdaq today, and we'll see what tomorrow brings.
And you mentioned travel being an interesting area for investors with the economic recovery theme. So Airbnb on a hot streak, gaining another 1.6% today, had a great week last week, coming off of a test of its newly minted 50-day line here. So what do you think about Airbnb's chart action?
Well, it's tempting to buy a stock like this when it's up so sharply in recent days, but after 6 straight gains, I think it's kind of a risky buy up at these current levels. So what I would really like to do is start to see Airbnb drift lower below that recent high of 219.94, and maybe just get a good base in here. Maybe we can go over to the weekly chart and see what it looks like here, because last week it really did make a nice test of that 10-week moving average, but you can see it's only a little more than 4 weeks into a new base here. So we like to see a structure like this take at least 6 weeks to form. So a little consolidation phase, a little more consolidation for Airbnb. I think that would present a better entry point, and that's it's on my watch list, and we'll wait and see if it can build a nice base here, because it frankly it definitely has that new and CanSlim, a new product or service that's driving sales, but it would just be nice to see a base form here before we see the best entry.
Most definitely. And even though it's not in that actionable pile, it's a great idea to make sure you're checking in on stocks that are showing the kind of technical strength that we are seeing from Airbnb. So that way it's not a surprise, it's not out of the blue when it does form that proper setup.
Yeah, no, it's a classic example of a stock that should be on your watch list right now. So I think the best thing that Airbnb could do right now is complete its base. It's a little too short right now. It's just over 4 weeks, but maybe a couple more weeks of consolidation, and it could be ready to move.
All right, well, we'll keep that one on our radar. And Tencent Music, ticker TME. We're going to look at the weekly chart for TME as well, because look at these successful tests of the 10-week in the last couple of weeks, Ken.
Yeah, so we're going to hear from Tencent next week. So this one could make sense for an earnings option trade. We'll probably take a look at it in the column this weekend. But I just love the action around the 10-week moving average here. You can see a very, very powerful breakout, and then it rallied sharply, gapped up there. There you go. And then yeah, this is just a great test of support. Starting with that down week a few weeks ago, you can see where it fell sharply below the 23 level, and then it closed all the way up near its high for the week. So there were definitely buyers in there supporting the stock. And then 2 weeks of gains. And then, after one day of trading this week, it really didn't move much. So it looks like a great first test of the 10-week moving average. This company, as its name might indicate, they operate an online music platform in China. And I'll tell you, amid a lot of regulatory concerns about names like Alibaba and a lot of these China internet firms, Tencent really seems to have been able to sidestep a lot of these regulation concerns, and continues to look very, very good technically.
So for an option play, what kind of strike would you be looking at?
Well, if we were looking at it right now with a close at 26.37, I'd probably look at a 26.50 or maybe a slightly out of the money 27 strike price, and then we'd look at the premium and divide by the current stock price. We like to see somewhere in the area about 4%. So you take the premium, divide by the current stock price, 4% or less will give us a fairly low risk option trade. And again, that's going to be earnings next week, early in the week, I believe. So, but these kind of trades make sense for stocks that are, have good fundamentals and good technicals. And I think Tencent passes muster on both fronts.
Fits the bill. And last but not least, Medpace, MEDP, looking pretty good here with a gain of over 2% today. It did, of course, like many stocks over the last couple of weeks, pull back to its 50-day line, but that didn't last very long for Medpace.
Like the look of this chart too. Earnings are out of the way. This is a company, it's a clinical contract research organization, a CRO. So what they do is they help big pharma and biotech basically help get drugs to market quickly. They help these companies with clinical trials and such. So like the fact that it was a very bullish breakout in February, and yeah, it came down to a key support level, found support. So this stock is actually almost let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's kind of in the early stages of building a new base here. So another couple weeks, we could get a nice little base on base pattern here. So definitely looking at 3 stocks today that have pretty good looking charts in a market that's not looking so bad, really.
Yeah, some watch list worthy stocks, Ken. Thanks so much for that analysis on this Monday. And do you want to give a little shout out to Leaderboard Free Access Week, which we have right now?
Yeah, and actually a webinar coming up tomorrow that my good friends David Chung and Justin Nielsen, they're going to be handling a leaderboard webinar tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, 4:30 Eastern. And then, yeah, leaderboard free access week at investors.com. I think you can just go to leaderboard.investors.com and get that free trial and check out, well, basically, timely buy and sell alerts for leaderboard stocks. We had a busy week last week, adding some new names to the portfolio, kind of moving slightly away from the technology trade and to what's working in the market currently, and a lot of reopened stocks and stocks that are poised to benefit from what's likely to be a pretty good economic recovery for the rest of this year. So take Leaderboard for a test run. It's absolutely free.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ken, of course, one of the key minds behind Leaderboard. And you're right, it's been a very interesting time over the last couple of weeks with the shifting market conditions that we've seen. That has really created a shuffle in the Leaderboard lineup.
Yeah, Leaderboard typically has a distinct tech flavor because that's where you tend to see some of the best growth stories in the market. It's where you tend to see a lot of the innovation in the market. But certainly the recent sell-off for the Nasdaq caused a lot of damage to some charts. We still hold some names like Nvidia and Adobe, but definitely the flavor of the portfolio has changed a little bit. So again, once these tech stocks take some time to consolidate, we'll definitely see new leaders pop up. It could be an Airbnb, it could be a Roblox, that the video
Yeah.
game company that came public
Mhm.
last week. So we'll be keeping an eye out for IPO bases and things like that. But always looking to see where the money is moving in the market with Leaderboard, and we'll continue to do that.
Most definitely. And we look forward to that webinar that Ken mentioned tomorrow. Make sure you go to investors.com/webinar for all the details on that. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.